This is Planet Jackers. And for an 11-minute episode, it was quite a feat. Everybody was fresh coming back to it. So here you had, who was it? It was Kyle Minke and Brian Konietzko. And Kyle was doing our action sequences at this point. This is Brian's stuff right here. Very ambitious show. I mean, so much 3D. But it was supposed to be sort of almost like a second season or a mid-season kickoff after the first six. So we show the first six. Come back and you have suddenly a little bit of a spectacular episode. And it was quite a spectacular episode. It has just so much going on. But very difficult, again, with the size comparisons. It came up again and again through Zim, where you have these tiny little characters interacting with these huge environments. And you had Zim and Gur out on the edge of this planet being dragged through space. So when you see the 3D model and you actually compare how big those drivers are inside their vehicle to the size of the Earth, you'll find out that the Earth is only about moon-sized when it's out in 3D. But it tells the story, and it's fine. You can get away with cheats like that. We had to cheat so much. A lot of 3D in this. Like that static, I believe, is 3D. Originally, we would just have a blue color in there, and the 3D guys would put into that blue. It was a chroma blue that could be dropped out in video and replaced with anything else. So we would replace it with static or pictures or whatever else we could. The sky effect here never quite came out like we wanted to. It's a 3D effect as well. It was just a very complex thing that we wanted to do in a very short amount of time. As it came out, it's fine. You get the idea that something's wrong in the sky, but there was originally an effect from FLCL that we were trying to mimic, and we sort of got halfway there. I don't know how they did it with FLCL though, so it was hard to backtrack from that because it was such a vague effect that they did. This sequence here was originally a storyboard test we gave out. Brian had to work extremely hard to try and best every storyboard artist who was trying out for the show. The test, the people that won at this test were Joe Daniello and Ray Angram. But Brian really had to work his heart out to get this scene to look way better than the tests. I think he did it originally. He did some thumbnails, and he realized that it looked exactly like a lot of the storyboard tests that came in. He felt very underrated. He had to go and work it up. It came out really well. Probably the best sequence he ever did in the show. But it took him a lot of time. I think it took him 3 or 4 weeks just to do the sequence or something. It's kind of funny, these episodes that were so grandiose like this generally don't stick in people's minds as the best episodes. I'm not too sure why. I think they're just too complex. And they're hard to execute as well. Oh, originally that's Gur eating a piece of dog poop. It still sort of plays out like that. Again, this is a very difficult sequence to play off. I mean, it was hard to play off that the ship starts up because of the goofing with the G-force activator. We're surprised that we got away with that eyeball joke. The eyeball pops out, and then again here, going back from the Earth and seeing that they're in a panel, a video panel on the inside of the planet, where the planet's atmosphere, new atmosphere. Very difficult. Showing small things against big things is just very hard to do. If we had more time, we could have done it a lot better. I have, no doubt I could have come up with greater solutions. But you have to think, as a director of all these episodes, not only did I have to go over the script for each show, I had to introduce a show, a script to new storyboard artists. I had to look over thumbnails of a whole show. I had to edit a show. I had to ship a show. I had to look over designs for a couple new shows and a couple shipping shows each week. Not to mention listen to sound and be at a sound record. So there's so much to do. It really was. It was too much of a show for one person to direct the whole thing. This is an entire 3D sequence. Yeah, here you go with the entire Earth with this, there's the moon back there in that ship. The moon actually is roughly about the size of a small city on Earth. The way it is here, but you get the idea. It plays out well. It's a good cheat. A lot of finessing to get this all right. So many multi-camera shots, or multi-angle, multi-camera moving shots. These two characters were actually written off of the two characters played by Steve Buscemi and I can't remember the other guy from Fargo, the two murderers. However, the voice actor played it more like Joe Pesci more than Steve Buscemi. All the space outside, I believe, is 3D. Really a complex show here with 2D and 3D combined together. Oh, that was a horrible shot. Horrible framing. Really interesting designs on those alien characters, I thought. That music cutoff was Jonan's little trick. I think it was just because of the editing. You didn't have enough time to look at the planet. He sort of wanted to highlight that fact. Manthi's weird music. Really interesting. Really bizarre. This is where Kyle began, and actually, this section is the first time, or probably the only time you see a 3D Zim with a 2D Zim. Quite ingenious sort of combinations of media to make this sequence work. You can tell in that far shot of Zim with the long shadow, that's actually a cheat. That isn't at all how a shadow would work. It was just done for storytelling. That would actually be Zim on a pedestal, knocking on thin air. Gets a little bit tedious at times like this because the black lines actually fade into black space. I'd expected that space would have a little bit of a color to it. Ended up coloring a lot of close-ups like that with a gray line around the characters. Something about this episode always reminds me of a Jack Kirby comic. I think in the way that Kyle shot it and some of the designs, very Kirby-ish back from the early days of Marvel Comics in the 60s. That's a really nice transition. Really cute acting on Gurr. That's a little ADR by Jonan. Jonan generally hated if there was a blank spot with no dialogue. New York hated it as well.